This video was recorded live before a canned studio audience. It's Friday Night Movie Reviews, and here they are, Chris and Keith.
Hi, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for joining us tonight. This is Friday Night Movie Reviews. I'm Keith.
I'm Chris.
And we thank you for coming and watching the video tonight and for spending time with us. We love spending time with you. We love hearing your comments or reading your comments. We don't hear them. We don't listen to those kinds of things. We read them. But we like reading your comments. Tonight we're going to be reviewing another movie that we watched over the weekend. And this is a third in a trilogy. We went and watched the movie
Venom 3.
Venom 3. Now, I had to let him say it because I have a bad tendency of calling it Venom 2.
Or Venom the Last Dance. It's actually the subtitle name. They're doing the same thing that they've done for years now, where we no longer number movies, we give them all a subtitle.
Right. So, and that's, I think that may be one of the reasons why it's getting a little confusing for me, because they don't put a number on it. They just put a subtitle on it. So, oh well. Anyway, we went and saw Venom 3.
The Last Dance.
Yeah, The Last Dance. All right. So without giving too much away of this movie, the basic premise is you have Venom, who is, of course, fighting bad guys in the movie, just like he has in the other two. But this introduces a new bad guy, and this movie actually takes some good notes from the actual comics. They introduced this new, really big bad guy, and his name is, you're gonna have to tell him.
Oh, it's Null. And he kind of whispers it in the movie. It's from the King in Black storyline in the comics that they've just done recently.
Right. So this big bad dude is introduced, and basically what he is doing is he is trying to take over the entire world, which is kind of what all big bad guys do, right? Is try and take over the world. Isn't that? No, Thanos was trying to get rid of people in the universe.
Yeah, just cut us in half, basically. You know,
right.
Just, yeah, this guy just wants the entire universe to himself, and he apparently does not like symbiotes like Venom.
Right.
And he's targeting Venom because he wants something that Venom has called the Codex. And that's the MacGuffin, and basically Venom, the character, becomes the MacGuffin for the story. So basically he sends these big giant monsters out that you see in the trailer with Venom hanging off the side of the airplane, and the monster. That's one of the monsters that's hunting symbiotes.
And we're not really giving anything too much away with telling you guys that, because this movie it's kind of fast paced, and it lets you know that kind of right from the start. So you're going to be about 5 or 10 minutes into the movie, and you're going to find that out anyway. So we haven't really given anything away.
And most of that I got just from the trailers too. I mean, other than hearing Null's name and mentioning the Codex, those are really the only things you learned in the first 10 minutes of the movie.
Right.
This one's similar to the other two. It's got a lot of humor in it. You get the back and forth between Eddie and the symbiote. You know, it's more of the same in that regard, but it's what's make it great. It becomes a buddy travel movie. That's really really what this movie boils down to. Besides the hunting of him and everything else, it's a buddy travel movie.
It's like kind of like you're watching Turner and Hooch, but only Turner can see Hooch.
I will dispel some rumors and confusion from the trailers though. That's not the Lizard. He's a completely different character in this, even though it's the same actor from Amazing Spider-Man. So that's a different one. The army guy is not Mordo from Doctor Strange, so that's not him either. It's just the same actor.
Right.
Then they had a rumor that young Peter Parker shows up with his family. That was just a little boy in the trailer. That was not Peter Parker. So those are the 3 rumors that I'm going to clear up right now. That just so if you were going to go see it based on those rumors, I'm just dispelling that now. Don't go see them, because none of that stuff is true.
And again, we're not really giving anything away. The only thing we're doing is just dispelling some rumors, so you don't go in it with some presupposition, with some presuppositions of what this movie actually has in
Yeah.
it, and then get disappointed because it didn't. So the basic premise of the movie: this Null guy wants something that that Venom and Eddie Brock have, and and it will help him to become more powerful so that he can take over the entire universe. And he opens portals and sends his creatures out there to hunt down Venom and Eddie Brock. So that's it in a nutshell. And again, we don't want to say too much because it's not going to take too much to give it away.
Yeah, just to be known, we had a lot of people leave the theater. There is a mid-credit scene, and there's one at the very end of the credits, and they actually almost make it seem like there's not going to be one at the end because they show the Sony's picture thing at the end, and you're like, oh, we're not going to get one, and then boom, then they show you this. So sit there until that last scene because it is important.
Right, it is.
It gives you hope for the future that you might see Venom again, maybe not, but so make sure you stick around and watch that end credit scene.
So, this movie does have some language in it, in case you're thinking about packing up the kids and going to see it. It is rated R.
No, it's PG-13.
It's PG-13. Okay.
I did check that out because I was under the misconception too that it was rated R because, I mean, they do push the limits. Like they do put their one F word per movie into it with it being PG-13. Right. And it's funny that it's not really Eddie that says the language, it's Venom. Right. Venom does a lot of it.
It's Venom that says a lot.
And Venom. And I gotta tell you, Venom has such a good personality, and this aside from obviously people's problem with the language in it, but but that aside, so you kind of have to gauge it if you really want to bring your kids along to see it. That's really my only criticism. There is some minor gore in it with the creatures and things that happen. I don't want to spoil that. We kept calling it the wood chipper. Yeah. So if that gives you any kind of idea about what we might be talking about. But that's
cut that off. Yeah. Yeah, it does have some gore in it. And of course, Venom does do some snacking in it. Nom nom nom. Mm. And you know what kind of things he snacks on. So he does snack in it. But yeah, not to give too much away, it's really it's a good feeling kind of good cop, bad cop kind of buddy film. It's gonna tug at your heartstrings a little bit later on.
Yep.
But it's not gonna be one of these things where you're just like, ow. It's just so sad. No, you're not going to be pulling out the Kleenex and doing anything like that. So don't worry too much about it. Guys, you will be able to hang on to your man card through this one. You're not going to be something stuck in my eye. It's not like that. But
yeah, it's not Spider-Man I feel cold Tony situation like in Infinity War.
I feel cold, Tony. I don't want to go. No, it's nothing like that.
Yeah,
it's but it does have a couple of moments in it. But it's really the special effects are really cool. I like the special effects. I like the music in it. The music was really cool. It was just really, it was a nice superhero movie kind of thing. But of course you got to remember that Venom is not exactly a real type of superhero. He's more of a
like Punisher, and
like an anti-hero.
Yeah, he's an anti-hero.
The lethal Avenger. That's what they call themselves.
Lethal Protector. Yeah.
Lethal Protector.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
And they got that right from the comics. So it's interesting that Sony did as much as they had access to because they only have access to the Spider-Man character. So they really got from all the source material they could. And there are a lot of surprises in it that are not in the trailer, which we were pleasantly surprised to see. So, and that's mostly in the third act for the most part.
Right.
But the question we have to ask ourselves now is, was it worth your cash to see it?
Well, first, what I do want to say is I want to go back to if you're planning on packing up the kids, don't worry too much about adult situations.
There's none of them.
There's none of that in there. The language does hit does hit the boundaries occasionally because it is there in case you're planning on taking your kids. And I mean, it's Venom, so there is going to be some violence in it, and it's superhero kind of stuff. So there is going to be some violence there. Um, and he mentioned the wood chipper thing, so it's going to be somewhat violent
Yeah.
in some regards. So
If
kind
you
of
got,
keep
if
those
you,
things in
yeah.
mind if you're taking kids.
Yeah, if you got the older kids that are like in middle school,
Yeah,
13, 14, 15, yeah, they can handle
Exactly.
this. And
Yeah.
they'll be like, what was the deal? And any
Right.
adult that goes see it will be like, well, what's the deal? It's really the youngsters are the ones that really
Right.
that would bother, you
Right.
don't want them to see some of
Right.
this stuff.
So the question Chris asked, is it worth your cash or was it trashed? What did you think about the movie?
I liked it. It being a Spider-Man-less Venom character, I still enjoyed it. Basically, I have to take it as I'm watching it as a movie, not as a comic book movie, and that really helps your experience because me being a huge Spider-Man fan, I could sit there and nitpick things all day long, and I just have to realize, no, this is its own thing. Yes, they are getting it from source material, but at the end of the day, this is just a movie series, a movie trilogy called Venom, and it's its own universe, own thing. So looking at it from that standpoint, the movie's fine. I thought it was great. It's a good action movie as far as that goes. The special effects, like you said, I thought they were fine. The writing, the acting was fine in it. It was you're going to get what you get from an action movie, and this definitely falls right under that category.
So how many sodas do you give it?
This one again, because even though I just said, I take it as just its own thing because Sony's not connecting it to Spider-Man. I'm not even getting Andrew Garfield. I've still got to knock this down a couple points. I still like the movie. It's enjoyable. I could easily watch it again. I could have it on in the background while I was doing other things. So I would probably give this movie a 7, somewhere in there.
7? Okay. I'm not as lenient about this movie. This movie is a third in a trilogy, and to me, it looks like Sony would have maybe learned, hey, we got to put a Spider-Man in here at some point, and they didn't with this third movie. There is no mention of Spider-Man whatsoever, and I seem to, if I'm making that too broad of a point, hey, you know what? Spider-Man was the reason why Venom is around, and they sort of forgot about that. And so to totally just diss Spider-Man and dismiss him completely from this series kind of ranks a lot with me. I did find myself, my mind wandering a little bit in this movie. Don't get me wrong, it has a lot of action in it. It's got some good funny moments in it. It has some good it has a couple of good heart tugging moments, and I liked those and I enjoyed those. But to me, it was to me it kind of dragged a little bit. There is a lot of action in it, don't get me wrong, but that action sort of dragged, and it was more or less a lot of the same to me. Mm-hmm. Storyline is pretty good. There are some elements in it that could have maybe been worked on and maybe brought out a little bit better than others, but storyline was pretty good. So I'm not as lenient as Chris has been with this. And you gave it how many sodas?
I'd give it 7, maybe 6.5, because and again, it's because it is a Spider-Man-less character, and again, it's because they just don't have the rights to the character.
Right.
And the fact that Tom Holland has made it clear that he is not going to be in any of their movies. He'll do the MCU movies,
Right.
But he will not do anything that Sony's going to do.
But I mean,
and they have access to 2 other.
And the thing
Spider-Man.
is, Andrew Garfield has mentioned time and again that he wants to come back. He wants to do a Spider-Man 4. He wants another another chance at Spider-Man.
Yeah, well, because he never
done it.
He never got the Amazing Spider-Man 3. And to me, honestly, Andrew Garfield fits with this Venom character because it takes the more darker, more ultimate version of Spider-Man's tone. So that's where it ultimately, and with them leaving the door kind of open for another sequel, because even though Tom Hardy says he's done doing Venom, believe me, if Sony was to entice him with enough money, he'd come back maybe to do Venom versus Andrew Garfield Spider-Man.
Especially if they posed it as that, hey, it's going to be, it's going to be Venom versus Spider-Man. Oh yeah, I think he'd probably jump on it.
Yeah.
So I would probably give it probably about 6 popcorns for this actual movie. And it's because of the things that I mentioned, but also because it is a third, and it's kind of, to me, it's kind of tiring out. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I mean they've done as much as they can with it,
Right.
because without access to any of the other Marvel stuff, it's
Right.
like, what do you have left?
And without actually putting Spider-Man in it.
Yeah, I mean,
they really don't have
anything else.
Unless they want to go in like they did with this and go into the Venom comic books themselves and begin pulling material out, which they could do,
They could
and
do.
which would be good.
But at the end of the day, Spider-Man always shows